Picture this. It's a beautifully sunny Sunday morning in a quiet suburban neighborhood. You are in your kitchen, but you aren't relaxing.
Oh, definitely not relaxing.
Right. Instead, your real estate agent just walked in, holding a box of those, break-and-bake grocery store cookies. They pop them in your oven, slap a stack of glossy flyers on your kitchen island, and head outside.
To jam like a dozen plastic directional signs into the grass at every single intersection.
Exactly. And you are being completely kicked out.
For 4 hours, usually, right in the middle of your weekend.
Yeah, you pack up the dog, you wrangle the kids, and you just put your entire life on hold.
Yeah.
You are locked out of your own home so that absolute strangers can wander through your private sanctuary,
Poking around inside your bedroom closets.
tracking dirt all across your rugs. And why are you doing this? Because your agent looked you in the eye and promised that this is how the magic happens.
Right, the quote-unquote magic.
They told you that the scent of artificial vanilla and the promise of, neighborhood exposure is the exact recipe to bring in the perfect buyer for your home.
I mean, it is a very beautiful, very romanticized tradition. We've seen it in movies. We see it on reality television.
Oh, totally.
It feels like what selling a house is supposed to look like.
But there is this massive shift happening right now in how high-value assets are actually moved. We're breaking down a fascinating blog post today for all of you that's been making the rounds on social media called The Death of the Open House: Digital Real Estate Funneling.
Yeah, it's a brilliant piece. It really exposes what's going on.
It really does. The traditional open house, which is sold to sellers as the ultimate marketing tool, is actually just complete dead weight. According to the author, it functions as this low-yield, high-liability relic of the 1990s.
It's wild how outdated it really is when you look closely.
So today, we are going to unpack the cold, hard numbers on exactly why traditional open houses fail. We're going to expose the very uncomfortable, dirty industry secret behind why agents still push you to host them.
That's the part that really gets people fired up online.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And finally, we are going to explore the hyper-targeted digital strategy that is quietly replacing the open house entirely. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the staggering inefficiency of the whole thing.
The numbers here are truly the best place to start, I think, because they strip away all that romance we just talked about.
We love a good data check.
Right, so every single year, the National Association of Realtors releases this massive report on the profile of home buyers and sellers. It is essentially the gold standard for real estate data.
And year after year, the data tells the exact same story. What does that story look like in actual percentages?
It's stark, I mean really stark. According to the latest data, only about 4% of buyers actually find the home they end up purchasing through an open house or a yard sign.
Like just 4%.
4%. That's it. Meanwhile, a massive 52% of buyers find their home directly online, and they do it long before they ever step foot onto a physical property.
Wow. So the majority of the heavy lifting is happening on a screen, not on your front lawn.
Exactly. And the standalone conversion rate for an open house, it hovers right around a measly 2%.
That feels like a massive disconnect between the effort being put in and the results coming out.
It really is. You could have 50 people walk through your living room, tracking dirt on the floors you just cleaned, and statistically, maybe one of them actually has the intent and capability to write an offer.
Why is it that low? I mean, if people are taking the time to drive to a house and walk inside, shouldn't they be somewhat serious?
Well, it comes down to how a qualified buyer actually operates in today's market. Serious buyers do not wait until Sunday at 1 in the afternoon to go look at a house alongside a herd of nosy neighbors.
Right, because that's just not how high-stakes transactions work.
Exactly. A serious buyer already has their own representation. They have already gone through the rigorous process of verifying their financial pre-approvals.
They're ready to go.
They are. And when they see a home they love online, they don't wait for a public event. They schedule a private high-intent showing on, a Tuesday morning or a Thursday evening.
That makes total sense. It's basically the difference between blindly swiping on every single person within a 50-mile radius on a dating app versus using an algorithm that only introduces you to people who already meet your exact lifestyle and financial criteria.
That is a perfect analogy. The modern buyer is operating with precision.
Right, they've filtered for exactly what they want before they even request a tour.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really a classic example of what happens when legacy industries collide with modern data. The traditional real estate model has these established routines.
The signs, the flyers, the weekend events.
Yeah, and those routines are deeply ingrained in their professional identity. So ignoring data that threatens those established routines is a very common defense mechanism.
They cling to the visible effort of the open house because it feels like working.
Exactly. Even if the data proves it's not actually working to sell the home.
Okay, so this brings us to a huge question. If 98% of the people walking through the door aren't buying, why is the agent sitting at your kitchen island basically insisting you host one?
Because they aren't actually there to sell your house.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they are there to build their own business.
Wait, you're saying the entire production, like the signs, the cookies, me leaving my own house, isn't actually for my benefit?
It's an uncomfortable truth, and the article really nails this. You are essentially funding your agent's lead generation.
Oh my God.
Think about the profile of the people actually walking through that front door on a Sunday.
Yeah.
You have the curious neighbors who just want to see how your kitchen renovation compares to theirs.
The lookie-loos.
Exactly. You have the Sunday hobbyists who are just bored and looking for interior design ideas. And you have early stage browsers who won't actually be financially ready to buy a house for another 6 to 12 months.
So literally none of them are buying my house today.
None of them.
Yeah.
But they are absolutely perfect future clients for the agent who is sitting right there at your kitchen table.
I've never thought about it like that.
While you are locked out of your own home, wandering the aisles of a local hardware store with your dog, your agent is busy collecting names, grabbing phone numbers, and building their personal database.
They're picking up new clients to go show other properties too.
Yeah.
And there's another group of people showing up to these open houses right now too, right? Unrepresented buyers.
Yes, and this is a huge factor in today's market. Recently, there was a massive legal settlement in the real estate industry that changed how buyers' agents get paid.
Right, the NAR settlement.
Exactly. Before, the seller typically paid the buyer's agent fee. But now, buyers often have to sign an agreement committing to pay their agent directly before they even tour a home.
Which is a big financial commitment just to look at a house.
It is. Because of that shift, a lot more buyers are trying to tour homes without an agent just to avoid signing those representation contracts up front.
Oh, I see. So they use public open houses to get a free look at the property without having to commit to a realtor.
Precisely. And for the agent hosting your open house, an unrepresented buyer walking through the door is just an absolute goldmine.
Wow.
It is a prime opportunity to pitch their services and sign that buyer as a new client right then and there. Again, it is a brilliant setup for the agent's business growth.
It's wild when you frame it that way. You, the seller, are absorbing 100% of the inconvenience. You take on 100% of the risk. But the agent,
They get the reward.
yeah, they are reaping 100% of the long-term marketing benefits. They are literally using your home as a free pop-up shop to acquire their next 5 customers.
And we really need to dive deeper into that risk you just mentioned. Because beyond the simple lack of a return on investment, legacy open houses introduce major vulnerabilities to your property and your privacy.
Oh, for sure.
The biggest one being what the industry calls pulse-only qualification.
Pulse-only qualification.
Pulse-only qualification. That sounds incredibly sketchy.
It is entirely sketchy. Think about the difference between a private showing and an open house. When a modern agent schedules a private showing, they vet the buyer beforehand.
Right. They check them out.
Yeah, they know exactly who the person is, they know who the representing agent is, and they know for a fact whether that buyer is financially qualified to purchase the home.
But at a public open house,
That vetting process is completely non-existent. The barrier to entry is literally just having a pulse. As long as a random visitor is breathing and possesses the physical ability to turn a doorknob, they are welcomed right into your master bedroom.
which opens the door, literally, to a massive security liability. You are essentially sending out an open invitation for opportunistic crime. It is simply a matter of logistics. It is physically impossible for a single real estate agent who is likely standing in the kitchen chatting up a potential new client to simultaneously track 5 different groups of strangers wandering through a multi-story home.
Right. Someone is upstairs in your bathroom, someone else is down in the finished basement, another couple is looking in your garage. You can't have eyes everywhere.
You really can't, and because of that, things disappear.
Just stolen right out of the house.
Yeah. Prescription medications, small electronics, and personal identity documents. I mean, mail left on the counter, tax forms in an open home office. These things vanish from open houses every single weekend across the country.
That is terrifying.
It is a massive, unnecessary vulnerability that sellers are taking on just to help their agent farm for leads.
Wait, hold on. Let me push back on this a little because I know exactly what a traditional agent would say to all of this.
All right, let's hear it.
If my agent calls me at 4:30 on a Sunday and proudly says, "Great news, we had 30 people look at the house today," I'm going to be thrilled.
Sure, it sounds good.
30 people sounds like a massive success. Doesn't 30 bodies walking through the door prove that their marketing is working and that my house is highly desirable?
It proves they are good at drawing a crowd, but it doesn't prove they are good at selling a house.
Oh.
Agents absolutely love to tout that number because it sounds impressive to a seller, but this is what we call an artificial feedback loop. 30 unqualified bodies do not equal actual market demand.
So it's essentially just a vanity metric.
Precisely. It is a vanity metric designed to create a false sense of traffic. It makes the seller feel good, it makes the agent look busy, but it completely obscures the real data that actually matters.
Which is why.
The only metric you should care about is how many qualified private showings did you generate. Having 30 dog walkers and nosy neighbors in your living room tells you absolutely nothing about the actual value or marketability of your asset.
Here's where it gets really interesting. So if we're not baking cookies, and we're not putting signs in the yard, and we're not inviting 30 random people into the living room, how do you actually move a high-value asset today?
Well, you transition from the 1995 playbook to the 2026 solution. There is a modern alternative being used right now called the next stop method, which relies heavily on hyper-targeted digital funneling.
Okay, digital funneling.
Right. If you are selling a significant property in today's market, you need a digital-first, high-precision strategy. This breaks down into two primary digital pillars. The first is algorithmic audience matching.
How does that actually work behind the scenes? It sounds very technical.
It is basically applying advanced digital marketing logic to physical real estate. Think about the legacy method, putting a sign on the corner and hoping the right person happens to drive by.
Yeah, very old school.
It's relying on geographical luck. Algorithmic audience matching completely removes luck from the equation. Instead of broad, untargeted exposure, modern agents deploy highly specific digital ad funnels that track consumer behavior.
So they are looking for specific data points to find the buyer.
Exactly. They aren't just blasting an ad to everyone in a 50-mile radius. The algorithms look at digital footprints. They target pre-verified high-income demographics.
Oh, wow.
They analyze data for regional relocations. For example, if someone's search history indicates they are looking up moving companies and school districts in your area.
That's incredibly smart.
Most importantly, they target active buyers whose actual online behavior indicates they are actively shopping for a home with your specific architectural style in your exact zip code and within your exact price bracket.
That is fascinating. You aren't waiting for the buyer to, organically stumble across your house.
Nope.
You are deliberately putting your house directly onto the screen of a buyer who has already proven through their digital behavior that they want exactly what you are selling.
What's fascinating here is how that leads directly to the second pillar of this strategy, the digital pre-qualification funnel. The philosophy here is that before a buyer ever sets foot on your actual hardwood floors, they should have already experienced your home digitally.
And we aren't just talking about a slideshow of photos taken on an iPhone, right?
No, absolutely not. This requires pristine spatial media. We are talking about hyper-realistic digital twins of the property.
Like 3D models.
Yeah, interactive floor plans, lighting-accurate virtual walkthroughs captured with advanced LiDAR scanning. The idea is that the physical home has to completely prove itself online first.
I see. It acts as a massive filter for the tire kickers.
Huge filter.
If a buyer can walk through the house in high-definition virtual reality, see the exact dimensions of the floor plan, and understand the flow of the home online, they instantly know if it works for them.
Exactly.
If the kitchen is too small for their needs or they don't like where the guest bathroom is located, they see it online and they just move on. They don't waste your time coming to see it in person.
It is incredibly efficient. It respects the seller's time and it respects the buyer's time.
It's like having an exclusive VIP velvet rope at a really high-end club.
I like that.
Right. The digital funnel is the bouncer. You don't just let anyone wander into the VIP section. First, They have to pass the strict digital vibe check.
The vibe check, yes.
They interact with the spatial media, they view the floor plans, and only if they pass that check, meaning they show real, verified intent, do you unhook the velvet rope and allow them inside the physical house for a private showing.
And look at how this entirely flips the power dynamic. In the traditional open house model, the seller surrenders all their power.
They really do.
They leave their home, they open their doors to anyone with a pulse, and they just hope for the best. With digital funneling, the power is handed securely back to the seller.
You're in control again.
Yes, you are protecting your privacy, you are protecting your security, and you are forcing the buyer to prove their intent before you grant them physical access to your property.
But, okay, let me bring up the other side of the debate mentioned in the source material. What about the energy of a crowded room?
The crowd energy argument.
Yeah. If I walk into a house and see 15 other people looking at it, I'm feeling some serious fear of missing out. Doesn't that crowd energy drive up offers? A lot of traditional agents swear that you need that crowded, chaotic feeling to force a buyer's hand.
It is the strongest argument the traditionalists have, and from a psychological standpoint, it sounds logical.
Right.
But it fundamentally misunderstands how a serious buyer thinks. The reality is, the so-called crowd energy of a public open house isn't actually intimidating to a high-net-worth, serious buyer.
Why not?
A savvy buyer knows the difference between real competition and a circus of neighborhood dog walkers looking for free air conditioning.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
If I'm ready to drop $1 million on a home, I'm not threatened by someone wearing sweatpants who just wandered in from the sidewalk because they saw a balloon on a sign.
Exactly. They see right through it. So how do you create actual strategic competition? The modern method achieves this through a concept called controlled urgency.
How does controlled urgency work in practice?
Well, instead of hosting a 4-hour free-for-all where everyone wanders in at once, the agent takes all of those high-intent, highly qualified buyers who made it through the digital funnel.
The ones who pass the bouncer.
Right. And they compress their private showings into very tight back-to-back windows on prime days.
Ah, so instead of a window from 1 to 5 for anyone and everyone, it's a private showing at 2 o'clock, another at 2:30, and another at 3 o'clock.
Exactly. And here is where the psychology really works in your favor. When a highly serious, pre-approved buyer arrives for their 2:30 appointment, the competition they see walking out the door from the 2 o'clock appointment isn't a random neighbor.
Right.
It is another highly qualified buyer holding a clipboard flanked by their own professional real estate agent.
Oh, well. Okay, yes. Seeing another professional team leaving the house just as you arrive, that creates real strategic competition.
It absolutely does.
That is actual FOMO, not artificial crowd energy.
It sends a very clear, undeniable signal to the buyer. It says, this asset is desirable, the people looking at it are extremely serious, and I need to move quickly if I want it.
That's brilliant.
It is a surgical approach to manufacturing urgency rather than a shotgun blast of just hoping a crowd creates panic.
So what does this all mean? We've covered a lot of ground today, from the abysmal 2% conversion rates to the hidden security risks of letting unvetted strangers into your bedroom, all the way to the advanced digital strategies replacing the old playbook.
It's a massive shift.
If we have to distill this down to a single actionable takeaway for you listening, it is this. It is time to treat your property listing like a high-stakes digital asset.
Clarity really is currency in this market.
It really is.
The open house remains a staple simply because it makes traditional agents look busy while allowing them to prospect for new clients on your dime. But the data doesn't lie.
No, it doesn't.
The modern buyer lives online, they shop using precision digital media, and they execute their purchases through vetted private showings. If your agent's marketing plan starts with a plastic sign on the corner, you are already losing money.
It's all about moving from the illusion of marketing to the reality of data. You need to demand a digital-first, high-precision strategy from whoever represents you.
And, looking at these technological shifts brings up a really provocative thought about where the real estate industry is heading next.
So I like where this is going.
We've talked about how pristine spatial media and hyper-realistic video tours are currently being used to filter out buyers before they step foot on the hardwood floors.
Right.
But if digital funneling and algorithmic targeting are already this advanced, and virtual reality keeps improving at this rapid pace, well, you have to wonder.
I wonder what?
How long until the physical home tour disappears entirely? Are we approaching a near future where high-end real estate is bought and sold entirely sight unseen, transacted completely within a virtual reality environment?
That is wild to think about.
Huh?
We go from dozens of strangers physically standing in your kitchen eating your cookies to someone buying your house from across the globe while wearing a VR headset, having never once stepped foot in the state.
The technological evolution is just staggering, and it's happening right now.
It really is. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. The next time you see those glossy flyers and smell that artificial vanilla on a Sunday afternoon, you will know exactly what is really going on behind the scenes. We will see you next time.